meeting of April 6, 2006 order. This final, please lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you today for all the many blessings you've bestowed upon Ascension Parish. As always, we ask for your wisdom and your guidance in operating the funds and the services that this parish provides to its citizens. As always, we ask for your blessings and safe return for our soldiers that are abroad, and your protection on those who serve us to protect us in this land and this country. Father, we just thank you for the grace and the mercy that you have bestowed upon all those in Ascension Parish who have aided those in the Katrina and Rita catastrophes. We thank you that we are a people of love and that we have provided many with new life and new opportunities in this parish. We ask that you help us to take care of the infrastructure and the needs that these things have brought about to this parish, and we ask that you do it quickly. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just hope we don't knock it over.
This is on roll call. I've got word that Mr. McConnell was on his way, and I got word that Mr. Byron and Mr. Valentine was on their way. Mr. Thompson, I haven't heard anything about Mr. Thompson yet. We do expect some of them to roll in shortly. Chairman's addition, I do have one addition that I'm going to ask you to consider. Registered voter, Mr. Robert Poche, is that we act on 2 precincts being moved. I'll give it a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vincent Lambert, second by Mr. Todd Lambert, to add agenda item, which is 2 relocations for precincts. Is there any questions? Is there any opposition? Have that motion passed. We're going to put that item at, we're going to make that item 16, and we'll put adjourn as 17.
Might mess up Jared.
Yeah. We'll work with it. All right, we got that? All right, number 4, anyone wishing to speak on any of the agenda items, please sign in with Ms. Suzanne. Number 5, presentation. Ms. Suzanne, do we have any presentations tonight? No presentation. All right. Number 6, Parish President's report. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. It's going to be a short report tonight, but some exciting things, especially for those of us, and I know all of us are interested in our parish being cleaner. And we're making a lot of progress, and then since the storms, it looks like it's gotten a lot worse. And so I want to commend the Recreation Office and Mr. Terrence Irvin specifically, and those in the Beautification Committee in our parish who are working to help us. And we've established a hotline in Ascension Parish where any citizen can call in and report where there's litter or trash or things that's being deposited where it shouldn't be. And this is hopefully will help us in this regard. And if citizens can get a license plate number off a tag and can leave that on this hotline, so we can try to get to the bottom of this and resolve these problems in our parish. And that number is 644-2486. And some little bumper stickers has been developed, put on cars, and all the parish vehicles would have these, and anyone else that wants to have them. And we really want to work on this again, and so we appreciate all of you working with us on this to help clean our parish and clean it up and make it look a lot better than what it does now. In addition, it's been several months now, and we've kind of waited on this to see if the trend was going to continue, but the sewer treatment facilities that the parish is in charge of have been in compliance now for several months, including the jail. And specifically, Barry and those who are working on this in parish government, the administration, I want to commend them, and I ask you and the council to let them know that we appreciate it, because it's not been easy. You know, the jail problem's been there for many years. And so Barry Smile and the others, Bill Rue and those who are working on this, I'm excited to report that these systems now have been in compliance, and if I'm not mistaken, it's been since October on these, and so there's been a lot of progress made. The courthouse offices in the Donaldsonville area, the parish suite, the finance office will also be working with permits where people in the southern part of the parish on this side of the river can fax in their building requests and permits, applications, and so forth to the main office. So the satellite office is just about finished now in the courthouse. Two of the ladies were there today. Their hours would be the same as the other offices in the courthouse in Donaldsonville, 7:30 to 4:30, same as the clerk of court, assessor, registrar of voters, and so forth. It really looks nice. I invite all the members of the council to go and look at it. Gwen LeBlanc and her staff especially have worked hard to make it look nice without spending a lot of money, but they've taken an old set of offices and really made it look nice. For our citizens should be pleased when they go in there to conduct parish business. The renovation taking place upstairs is moving along nicely. If you haven't been there recently, I encourage you to go by and look at that. As soon as that is finished, we'll need to go in and redo the floors and the hallways downstairs, so that needs to be done, and we should be able to do that without a lot of money being spent to help the whole building really look nicer. We recently had a meeting with the person who actually works for FEMA, who was over housing in Louisiana for Hurricanes Rita and Katrina, Mr. Steve de Blasio. And I think probably for the first time in almost 8 months now since these disasters first struck, again with Katrina, we have a better understanding. And if we could have met with this gentleman back right after the storm, he's not a contractor. He's a government employee who's been with FEMA many, many years, and he's been in our state since August the 28th. As I recall, he told me he's been home one time for his daughter's wedding since August 28th, the day before the storm actually hit. He's very knowledgeable. He's very understanding of what they're trying to do with transitional housing and so forth. And so he's met with our plan and development people, zoning, building officials, and so forth, so we understand those individuals who are living on private property and who are living in with relatives and so forth can work through the regular parish process to do that. And he understands that, and he's met the appropriate people. And he'll probably come and speak to us as his schedule permits in the near future, but he's all over the state because of the issues involved with these storms pertaining to housing. The last thing I want to touch on tonight is just to encourage all of us. We've been working on this impact fee. We all understand the need in our parish for roads, transportation systems. There's some belief that as interest rates rise, maybe the housing industry will slow down, and historically and traditionally there is a direct relationship or correlation many times between the housing industry and interest rates. As I've talked to some realtors and some other developers in our area, their expectation and belief is that on a national level, and maybe even some regions of the country, we've already seen a slowdown. They anticipate what will happen in our parish will not be as significant in other areas because of the demand of people moving in our parish, and then the building that will continue to take place as the recovery moves forward since the hurricanes. And so some thoughts are that maybe the upper level homes may slow down somewhat because they're impacted heavily by rising interest rates, but mid-level and starter-level homes may not be as impacted significantly. And so we're trying to monitor this, and we're still working with Louisiana Tech on our population numbers. They called us again today. We had challenged the numbers that they had given us a few weeks ago. And so the lady up there is working with the Census Bureau now, because we'd gotten the number from the Census Bureau, which was, we felt, more accurate based on our permits that had been issued as of July of 2005. We'll get with Mr. Poche the next day or so. The next thing we're looking at is voter registration to try to come to a number that's a good estimate. And what they will do is compare the April 1st, 2000 census population and what the voter registration was on that date to the voter registration numbers July 1st, 2005. And they'll compare that with other demographics that they use to estimate population trends, deaths, births, all these different mythologies that they use to arrive at that number. But it looks like that population number will come in somewhere around 90,000 as of July 1st, 2005, which obviously is pre-Katrina. I want to ask each one of you to really, I've met with several of you one-on-one. I think most of you now on the council have met with URS, our program manager and project managers. We're looking at our transportation plan. I think the administration understands the concerns that some of you have. We're trying to address those with our consultants, Mr. Landry, Mr. Sandri. I would like to see us put the impact fee ordinance on the agenda for 2 weeks from tonight, so we can really work on this in the next 2 weeks. We've been over 15 months now working on this. It's probably time to get an up and down vote on it. We're trying to get the answers for several of you had. So if you have some concerns still, or if you haven't expressed all your concerns on this matter, please get with me in the next day or so we can address these. We have Mr. Landry and Mr. Duncan as well as Mr. Sanji able and ready to work with us and meet with us, as well as the people from URS, to try to address these concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my report.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question from the Parish President, if you don't mind. Yeah. Mr. President, when we had our one-on-one, we talked about a revised, a revision on the impact fees.
Yes.
Has it completed yet? And if it has,
Mr. Rue and I are working on that now, and we'll be at the, I think your next Transportation Committee meeting is next Tuesday night?
Yes.
Yes. We will be there that night to look at the road projects and how they correlate with impact fees and half-cent sales tax and so forth on the specific projects.
can you make sure everyone besides transportation gets a copy before?
Yes, no problem at all.
Thank
You bet.
you. Anyone else? Ms. Butler.
Well, I just want to, I've just got the agenda for the transportation, and that's not on there, so you might want to get that to Liz so that she can revise the
We're glad
agenda.
to do that. I think I responded to your email yesterday, Cheryl, or the day before, that we would be willing to come next Tuesday, but we'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
And I did get your email, by the way. It is working again.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else? All right. This is on, let the record reflect everyone, Mr. President. The one that stepped in a little late, there's been a two-thirds agenda item added. Negotiated that we put a couple of precincts on for relocation. And we did pass that, and we made that agenda item number 16 and adjourned in 17.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I see that Mr. de Blasio has just entered the room, and so I would like a chance for you guys to meet him. He is the FEMA housing guru for the state of Louisiana with Rita and Katrina, so if that'd be okay.
That's fine. Come on up to the mic, please.
And Steve, I just told them that we recently met with people and from the administration and yourself. And so if there's anything, if you want to just say tonight to the council, please feel free to do so.
Well, I have nothing in particular really to say. I'm certainly open for any questions or concerns that folks have in terms of how we operate the program.
Is that Mike?
Just give you a brief update in general what we're doing statewide. Recently,
Hang on, let's check that mic. Make sure it's on.
we It wasn't on. I got it. Okay, I wasn't prepared to do any specific briefing, but we'll talk a little bit about the meeting I had with the parish president and his staff. Just a brief update on where we are statewide. I can tell you that this week, as a matter of fact, yesterday, we just broke 60,000 units are out here in the state, and that I'm talking strictly travel trailers, mobile homes, or park models, and it includes accessible units for those with accessibility needs and other special needs. Just broke 60,000 statewide. I do have some numbers if you're interested, in particular about Ascension Parish. I did bring my morning briefing with me, so I do have some numbers if you need that. We did have some concerns for a while there in terms of whether we were going to be able to place any units in Ascension Parish. After the meeting I had with the fine president, it was decided that we would be allowed to use up to 10% of pads available in existing commercial parks, and that we would be allowed to roll out private site installs where we put a unit at a private site, but only for those folks that either currently lived in the parish or were currently housed in the parish in a hotel or motel. And that was graciously received on the FEMA side of the house, because we do have lots of folks out there that we do still need to house, and there is some need still being identified in Ascension Parish. One of the other things that we committed to when we plan to live up to that commitment is that we would work through the local permitting offices, so you have total visibility on anything we do, and there would be nothing done other than fully permitted and properly zoned and approved installations through whatever local restrictions and permitting procedures you have in place. Here to certainly answer any questions or answer to any concerns you might have.
And I don't think we've gotten the number back from you, Steve, on people that were still in our parish who needed housing. Have you been able to get that from, I think, Mr. Blanchard or whoever you, Hightower, I think it was?
Yes, Jack Hightower of my staff. He did forward that over. I know I gave him a couple of business cards. I'm not sure that it went directly to you, sir, but that same day, that afternoon, because I believe we had a 10 o'clock in the morning meeting, that same day I did provide that information, which identified all of the folks that were currently in hotels and motels in Ascension Parish, as well as any site requests that we had pending, awaiting approval to move forward on these private site installs. So I believe that was done. If you find that not to be the case, certainly let me know. You have my direct cell phone, so by all means, let me know if your folks did not get that.
Let the council please know that. I don't remember seeing that, and so if you remember about what that was, as far as number of families in the motels, hotels in our parish.
I do not. I did not bring that with me, but I will make sure that I will provide it. Again, I'll have Jack. I'm not sure who he sent it to, but I know I had a number of business cards from our meeting. If it wasn't directly to you, I'll find out where it did go.
You got questions, Ms. Fonda?
That was the question I was going to ask. How many people are still here that do not have the homes that they need? And my next question would be why. I mean, it's been a long time. FEMA's not moving fast enough.
You mean statewide? You mean why there are still folks? Well,
no, I'm asking how many. I'm concerned about who's in Ascension Parish. If there is a need still out there, we have not been given that need. And I've been asking for months how many people are here, and I'd just like to have that answer.
Well, I can certainly provide that information to you specifically in terms of who is still in hotels and motels. We have that information. I can tell you statewide, as of the extension that we're going to be granting to folks following the 12th of April, it's going to be less than 500 folks statewide in hotels, motels. So I do not have the specific Ascension Parish numbers. I can tell you how many site requests are out there for a location in Ascension Parish. Let me just look at my numbers here. We had a total of 361 requests for a site in Ascension Parish. We have 277 sites have been deemed feasible to take a unit, meaning it has power, water, and sewage available at the site. And we currently have 170 units occupied within the boundaries of Ascension Parish.
Okay. sometime, I think it was about maybe the first or second week of December, they had 279 identified as needing one on site of a relative. Is this 361, does that 279 include that? And if so, that's an awful long time that we still have this many, because according to this, all 361 need a spot right now.
No, it's 361 total site requests. Of those 361, 277 have been looked at and are feasible.
They don't have anybody on it.
Those are the feasible sites. And then of the 277 that are determined feasible, there have been 170 units placed and have occupants in them. So the 277 are somewhere within that point where we know it's feasible, we issue a work order to bring the unit out there, but there are a lot of things that have to be done. We have to go through our LA1 call, we have to go through the proper permitting offices, we have to get rights of entry in place, we have to find the applicants, we have to contact them, arrange to meet them, and lease them in. So there's a lot of moving pieces there. I would say the largest impediment to us moving any faster was the lack of our ability to build out group sites quicker. Again, we are at 61,000, and I'm sure you do understand the magnitude of this event. I don't need to tell you that. My first housing mission was last year in Florida, and that was unprecedented. And I went home before Christmas after rolling out about 15,000 units, and that mission was pretty much done. I've been here since August now, and it's now April, with 61,000 units and probably about another 20 or so to go. So this is beyond.
The 277 are people that are living with relatives right now and still not in a FEMA trailer.
277 are sites, not people, not families. Those are sites that we have gone out and deemed them feasible for a travel trailer.
But you know that you have the people to go in those sites, or will you be getting those people from somewhere else?
They would be coming from they're currently in Ascension Parish. Either it's their own house and they want a trailer, or they're offering their house for a relative, a mom, dad, brother, to place their trailer because they do not have a site to place a trailer. So we're going to place a trailer at least that many feasible sites. But there are also that 361, the delta between 277 and 361 are additional sites that we still have to get out there and inspect to make sure that it's feasible. So the 277 are sites, 170 of them are actually sitting there with units and people living in them, fully operational. So there's about 100 or so additional feasible sites that we still have to work and get the units installed and get the people leased into them.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Mr. Valentine.
Yes, Mr. Steve. Has the FEMA been supplied a list of illegal, I hesitate to say illegal, but trailers that have been placed which have been deemed illegal from a standpoint of being in a subdivision or placed in without getting proper permits before on Ascension Parish? Do you have a list that's been supplied?
No, I do not. But certainly if our contractors have not followed proper procedures, we want to know that, and we will go back and make it right, or we will remove the units if for some reason it's not allowed.
That's what I want to know, if you have the power to go in and do that. If we are not getting any satisfaction with people being able to move to another location or correct the problem, Parish President, question for you. Have we given FEMA a list? I have been told, I have not seen the list, but I know of one particular that has been a problem in my district, where it's at the front of a subdivision in the front yard.
You're talking about over Dutchtown?
Yes. Yes, sir. People have been very patient. The residents have been very, very patient, but it was put there illegal. It does not meet the guidelines, and I know we've taken some action, but I want to know if FEMA can take the action, if that's what it takes.
Mr. Fansett, to answer Mr. Valentine's question, and we've had the emails going back and forth between me and George and your department. What is the status of that situation now off of Highway 73 in front of Dutchtown High School now?
Mr. George is absolutely right. That individual promised to work with us and go forth and move that trailer, and has failed to do so. He was issued a letter from our attorney about a week and a half ago and I don't know how many days left he has, but not many.
I'm asking for assistance from FEMA to help us with this situation. I mean, I certainly don't want to put anybody out on the street, but there again, the rules were not followed by Florida.
Now,
who put
you
that
said
trailer
that
in.
you asked them to move the trailer, so I assume it's not a FEMA trailer? You
Oh,
asked
it is a FEMA trailer.
The occupant? Have you asked FEMA to move it, or you're dealing with the applicant?
We're dealing with the applicant.
Okay, well, the applicant really has no authority to move a FEMA trailer. If we place it there and we block it and strap it and do all that stuff, then we really don't want them to move it. But if you give me the information, and that's illegally there, with regard to permitting, zoning requirements, then that unit will be moved. Now, it's unfortunate. I'll have to find somewhere for them to go. And the last thing I want to do is put somebody on the street, so it might take me some time to find them an alternate site, which we will do. But I will take immediate action on that,
Well,
sir.
you just told us we had X number of sites that you've already got approved. So obviously we got some approved sites that we could take this, family or whatever, the occupants are and move them to.
Yes, but sir, the approved sites are approved private sites. Those are for specific individuals. Those are not just open for me to put anyone in them. But we do have commercial parks. I would opt, in the case of Ascension Parish, there's probably a unit available at a commercial park that we put our unit in, so we'll work that.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this is the relative of the gentleman that lives, or the family that lives in the house or office since it's in their front yard. The other question I have deals with a resolution that this council passed several weeks ago with the FEMA park that essentially is privately owned on Highway 621. We passed a resolution that FEMA would assist the owner of the park in placing a security fence and, of course, security. But right now I'm more concerned about the security fence. Is FEMA still in the market with helping situations as the trailer park on 621, or would this be totally up to the person who owns the trailer park, which FEMA leased, I guess, the lots to?
Normally, we don't do any enhancements to an existing commercial park. That's a privately owned business. And, we're paying good rates for the pads. We pay per pad, per month, pay for utilities. Normally, we would not do that. Sometimes a park owner might come to us and say, hey, look, would you be interested in increasing my pad rate $10 a month, or so that I can get this fence done? We're willing to negotiate, but that has not been presented to me as an issue on 621. I did visit that site myself the day I met with the parish president just to see it. It looked like a really nicely laid out site. Everything looked perfectly in order. I was impressed, actually, but I'm not aware that anybody was in need of assistance in getting a fence put up.
Well, the owner mentioned that he would put a fence up. He has put a fence across the front, but other than that, there is no fence will enclose the park. And I've been gotten numerous complaints, especially during the last week or two, where there have been people fairly walking, I'm sure, during the day. They're just kind of wandering around. And so I would like to see that park secured either by the owner or with your help. Gentlemen, I'm sure if you've been there, you know who he is. Mr. Simpson, maybe if you could contact him or have one of your staff contact him. And if there's some negotiation that can be worked out where he can be assisted in putting the fence, certainly would be appreciated by this council.
I will do that, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else? Thanks, Mr. Steve.
You're welcome.
Good, Mr. Chairman. And I want to make sure we all understand that even with this, I think it's called Oak Place Trailer Park on 621, as a family there, I think we have all 50 spaces occupied now, Steve? All 50 places occupied there on 621. When I rode through there last, I couldn't really tell.
Yes, I did not come prepared to answer that
Okay.
question. I know that when I went through there, it looked like most of the units were occupied, but I can't say that it's completely filled.
Let me just say this so all of you can understand that one of the things that we agree with Mr. de Blasio is that if one of these families finds housing, say they go back to their community or whatever, within the contract that they've signed with the owner, that the 10% rule will start applying to that trailer park like it would any other commercial trailer park too, so that trying to get to that number. So, and the second thing, and probably the most important thing for all of us to understand as well as our citizens, is that only people that can go in any of these places or people who are currently in Ascension Parish and have been here and who are living with relatives or hotels, motels. So, Steve, we need that number in the hotels, motels just as soon as we can get it from whomever. And I don't think anybody in my staff has seen it either.
I will investigate that. I'll see who Jack sent it to. I know he told me it's done the same day because I had my analyst run the query against the database, and I know for sure he told me it was gone that day, and maybe he goofed up on the email address or something. I'm not sure, but I will sure double-check on that.
Thank you.
A question, Parish President. You mentioned that once they move out, that it will relegate to the 10%. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we want to get toward that. As you all realize, we didn't want any concentration of evacuees in any one place, and commercial trailer park or otherwise. And so we've asked Steve and them, as a vacancy occurs, a family moves out, unless there's another family in our parish already, in Ascension, who still needs housing, that the owner of that park, once his contractual obligations are met between FEMA and the owner, within those spaces would be made available to the general public and not to hurricane evacuees.
Well, and the problem is I don't want to mislead the public because it is a contract between FEMA and Mr. Simpson. And as I understand it, they pay so many spots, whether they're empty or not, so it's conducive to FEMA to make sure it gets filled. And he told me that once they would move out, there would certainly be another family available to move in. So, I don't want to mislead the public saying when a family moves out and they see something vacant over there, I want to start something else here, that it won't be filled. More than likely it will be filled unless there are no more people in Ascension Parish, which he says there's still a great number, that would take that trailer. Is that right?
I don't know if Mr. de Blasio has got with the legal people yet. They were going to look at the contract and see what they could do in that regard that I had asked them to do to depopulate that park with hurricane evacuees, unless we still have families in our parish who still were in hotels or living with with relatives who needed a place to live.
I understand, but I do know the unique circumstances of the contract. Mr. Simpson made me aware of that, and that's one of the circumstances, and that's why he ended up making a contract with FEMA, because of that unique circumstance. So we need to make sure that I just don't want to mislead the public in dealing with that.
We understand, Mr. Valentine, the 6 months looked like it was pretty, I guess, ironclad for the first 6 months, but there seemed to be some flexibility after that. And so that's what they're looking into.
All right.
Yes,
so we don't want to mislead the public at all, but we are looking into it.
That's correct. It's a 6-month lease and then a renewal a month-to-month following that, up to the potential 18 months. And we are already, over 12 months into this.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Blasio, is there a screening process in place where we're putting families in there with jobs and with transportation? Because I know that's a concern of the community. People, one, with no jobs, nothing to do during the day, and secondly, no transportation, no way to get around the parish. How's that being addressed?
Well, it's two different issues you're really raising here. We can't screen our applicants. If they are, we screen them for eligibility. They have to be displaced from a home. They have to prove to us that they had a home before the storm, or that they had that apartment that got destroyed. They have to prove to us that there was substantial damage, that it's not livable. So that's the only screening we do. We can't discriminate otherwise, whether they're jobless or it doesn't matter. We cannot go beyond that in terms of screening, and we don't. With regard to transportation, we are setting up a transportation contract with the Department of Transportation, DOTD, LA DOTD, and we expect to have something in place by June, which is going to be a transportation service where we're going to reimburse DOTD to provide this. It's going to link up parks where folks may be without transportation, at least link them to public transportation. It's going to provide transportation services for these folks, just strictly for food, medical, etc., not for shopping, going to the mall or something. So we're going to be dealing with the transportation issue because it is an issue. A lot of folks do not have transportation. They were renters and just didn't have cars. So we're dealing with the transportation issue in that regard.
But nothing's going to be in place until June.
That's correct.
So in the meantime, how are the people, buying their groceries, getting to 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 see the doctors, social services, that type thing?
We haven't had an issue here. I know when I drove through the park, most every mobile home in there had a car parked there, so it doesn't seem to be an immediate issue here. But earlier on in this event, for instance, Renaissance, where I basically built that park, it was the first park built, and we filled it with the shelters surrounding the Baton Rouge area, and those folks were in not good shape.
Right.
Transportation, jobs,
Yeah,
financial.
it's a legitimate
I mean,
concern.
and a lot of them turned out to not even be eligible for FEMA housing, and they have subsequently been turned over to the, put into the safety net of the state where they have to shelter. That's why they opened the Pelican Island site up in Shreveport. So a situation like that, we have transportation right there. We have bus service. We have connecting links. We actually had the bus line modified to go past there. We've arranged for the school bus to go there and pick up. But that was a very unique situation, that Renaissance Village and Airport 1, 2, 2A, and 3. The group that went in there basically was those shelters that we emptied. And those folks may very well have been in shelters prior. They were not, most of them were not eligible applicants for housing assistance, and once the sheltering ended, which is basically right now, we're doing recertification right now, and if folks are not eligible for housing assistance, then they're going to be asked to leave the units. But we really haven't had a major problem with transportation other than that Renaissance and the airport sites and a lot of the other areas around the state.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, you're welcome.
And just let me conclude, if I could, Mr. Chairman, that I met with the sheriff last week for a couple hours. He personally is going through this particular commercial park. I go out there regularly as well as other people. I mean, you heard Steve say that he has been, and in response to your concern, Doug, I too saw most of the people who were there that had vehicles
That's good.
going to school, and I met with the school system between Dutchtown High School, Dutchtown Middle, and DePlessis. They tell me it's been 25 students or less in all three of those schools as far as the impact on the school system. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Number 7, consent agenda, regular meeting of March 23rd.
So move, we accept.
Second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Have none, motion passed. Number 8, utilities committee. I'm going to ask the committee to report on any findings that they have on the assignment that we received a month ago. Number 8, utilities committee.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a special meeting the other night, and in that special meeting, we addressed some of the issues as far as the committee assignments. We also talked about the creation of an East Side Utilities District, and that has been a recommendation of the Utilities Committee to come before council. So we'd like to entertain a motion for creation of East Side Utilities District.
We have a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Shakenai. Any discussion? Yeah. Mr. Thomas.
Creating the East Side Utility District, what does that entail? The whole East Side?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you got the water district that's in Darrow. That would include that district also.
Yes, sir.
That wouldn't be a problem since they already have created that water district.
I don't know, that'd be a legal question.
That would be a Mr. Babin question.
Come on up. We have an existing water district
Got more than one, Mr. Chairman.
on the east side.
Got a couple of them.
Okay. Now, coming from committee, they're wanting to create a utilities committee on the east side.
A utilities committee or utilities district?
District.
A special service district, okay?
Did you hear Mr. Thompson's question?
Does that pose a problem creating a district when you have the existing districts?
You would exclude the existing districts, I would assume, or you're going to have a district, or you're going to have overlapping or concentric districts? You can just do a new utilities district and exclude the services by those utility districts. We've done that. In other words, you'll have an East Bank Consolidated Utilities District excluding the water districts that you have.
Well,
That's no problem with that. It's just how you draft the boundaries.
Right now, the water district in Darrow are trying to consolidate and be a utility district because they will soon be collecting sewer fees. We talked about that, a couple of months ago?
A couple of months ago.
So
So you can
create their own district.
There's as many options as you want to get creative. If they want to be brought into the district, I would recommend dissolving that district or merging that district. You can do mergers. There's really any way you want to configure it. What I would avoid having is overlapping districts performing the same function in the same area, because then you're going to have dual functions being served by dual boards. So, but any way short of that, I think we can structure it. We could exclude them. We can dissolve the old, start anew. You can merge those districts, however you want to handle it. We got a lot of leeway there. Just got to know what your intention is, whether or not you want to include that area in a new district or leave it as is.
I'm waiting to see what's found.
Mr. Thompson, I would suggest that we just amend the motion to exclude any existing water or utilities district on the east side at the present time, and at a later date, once this district is established, they'll have the options, or you will as a councilman, or anybody, Mr. Shakes and I, whichever these water districts, of coming into the district once it's established. So I would offer that amendment to exclude any existing. Is that how you do it, Ricky?
That would be fine. And you have a lot of time, Councilman Thompson. You've seen us create a lot of districts. We have to do the notice of intention. That's got to be published. After the notice of intention is done, then we have to publish the boundaries. There's a public objection period. Then we have to do ordinances and resolutions, and it's a multiple-step process. You know how long it took to create fire districts. So those districts, you'll have a lot of time to get that sorted out if you wish.
Because we could amend this, and Councilman Barriger, this is really just a resolution for us to do this, right? Because essentially, Mr. Babin, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't this have to be done legislatively? I mean, isn't that what that discussion? Yes, what we've been discussing about our legislative delegation creating a utilities district, state legislative act?
No.
No?
You're the governing authority, have authority.
Well, we discussed that, though, whether it needed to be a legislative act or not. I never got anything clear on whether it didn't have to be or not.
Does not have to be.
Okay,
You
doesn't
can
have to be,
create a
that's fine.
utilities district. This board can.
Okay, well,
But it is a cumbersome process.
Okay.
It is not.
Well, we need to get
It has
started.
to be done by multiple ordinances.
I got you.
So I'm just saying you can't pass a motion tonight to create it.
Right, well, I offer the amendment to the motion, and we call it a resolution, Mr. Barriger?
Yes, sir.
Okay, amendment to the resolution that we exclude the water districts that are already established and/or utility districts that are established on the east side.
Second.
Amendment to the resolution set in a second. Is there any further discussion?
On the amendment.
Just one comment. I think, George, what you may be referring to is if we want to give this district expropriation authority, we're going to probably have to go to the state legislature then to do that.
That's the main reason for creating it, and that's why I thought that we had to do that with legislative act. So that's why
as of right now, the state statutes say that utility districts have to be granted that.
Okay, well, I'm satisfied. Let's just get it created, get it on the books.
I think it's going to take a while to get all this done.
We'll continue to move forward with our other.
Let's create it, and then we'll
Create it. Any further discussion? Is there any opposition to the motion? Have none, motion passes. Before we go to B,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. We need to vote on the resolution as amended.
That was just a vote to okay the amendment. Now we have to vote on the resolution.
We need to vote on the resolution as amended.
on the amendment.
Yeah, it wasn't a substitute
We voted on the amendment. That was what we did. Now we got to vote on the resolution.
Resolution.
As amended.
As amended.
As amended, there's a motion by Mr. Mr. Todd Leonard, second by
Kent. It was
Mr.
Kent.
Schaefer. Is there any further discussion on the resolution? Having none, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Valentine. Before we go further, may I ask Mr. Parish President, since we're under this, have we had our opportunity to get with a state representative or a senator to introduce the bill?
We have talked to them about it, but if you're keeping up with the eminent domain issue right now, which involves expropriation and the hot topics right now, I think you see a reluctance for those kind of matters right now today. We'll get each of you a white paper put out by the Police Jury Association if you hadn't gotten it. I read it tonight before I came here on this whole issue. So there's a lot of bills that's been introduced on this eminent domain and economic development versus public purpose. What does it mean? What it doesn't mean? And so I think it's going to be very difficult right now in the present climate in the state capital to move something like that forward until the legislature sees what they're going to do with the whole issue of local government authority for eminent domain and expropriation authority.
Yes, sir. Item B is issue a task order for CDM to do a study on the Lemonville wastewater treatment alternatives. The alternatives that are proposed to study a treatment at an expanded Ascension Parish jail wastewater treatment plant. Second alternative would be a co-treatment with Ascension Parish jail wastewater and a new regional plant. And the third option would be a co-treatment with Ascension Parish jail wastewater and a Donaldsonville wastewater treatment plant.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Schaefer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion?
Discussion.
Mr. Hillsback.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Barger, I trust that the committee is going to look at cost with these three alternatives. And I bring this up because it's my understanding that the large plant that has been under design for some time now for Ascension Parish, the wastewater treatment plant, I think the plans will be ready sometime in August. It's my understanding that this particular plant that's been under designed, I think it's by GEC, I'm not on the committee, but I think that's who's handling it, is not only the most expensive plant to build, but it's also the most expensive to maintain. And I remind you what we're handling here. We don't need a Cadillac when we can get by with a Chevrolet or a Ford. So I hope the committee monitors what is being designed down the road. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The discussion in utilities, Mr. Hillensbeck, is now that there's a possibility of CBG grant coming out of Lemonville and the potential to run the lines, collection lines, that's the reason for this study. You don't want to. We originally in the STAG grant used the money to go towards the jail. Now with this new development, we want to take a step back and make sure we're not messing up and doing something that could cost us more money in the long run. So that's the purpose of this study, to figure out out of these three alternatives, which one is the best route.
Okay. Well,
And the Corps is involved, and they do agree with this this recommendation right here.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate your response, Mr. Barger, but obviously somebody was not keeping close tabs on what's been designed for the plant at on the BASF site, because the information I have is, and I realize it is a co-related issue, though. Okay.
No, it's
Yes,
not.
it is.
No, it's not. I'm sorry, excuse me. You're right.
I'm finished. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. They're not together. You have the West Bank and you have the East Bank. You can't run a collection line through the Mississippi River and tie them together. It's just impossible.
I understand that.
So this is a West Bank issue. Before, in the STAG grant, we decided to use $500,000 to run a high-pressure system to Donaldsonville wastewater treatment plant. Well, with the new developments of the possible monies coming for collection lines in the Lemonville area, the Corps actually recommended to take a step back and evaluate the 3 different options to make sure we're not making a mistake. So really, Mr. Hillensbeck, they're not connected. Totally separate sides of the river, totally different systems.
Anything else?
Just watch the dollar, that's the only point.
Is there any opposition to the motion? Having the motion passed.
And finally, Mr. Chairman, you asked for the update. In the special meeting, Parish President was able to attend. Fire District 1 Chairman attended. Had some pretty good dialogue, and out of the meeting, decided that Fire District 2 and 3 need to be brought in. And also the Parish President said he would ask his administrator that handles some fire issues, OEP director, he asked that he would meet with the 3 districts. They would come up with their capital outlay projects and discuss with administration, and then I believe after they have their meetings, then they'll all come back to the Utilities Committee, give an update, and hopefully we can make a decision from there. But that's where it stands right now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barber. Now, personnel committee.
Thank you, Chairman Savoy. I had discussed with the council at last meeting that we had several reappointments that we needed to do, and if anybody had any problems or any questions or any issues with any of the reappointments, to get in touch with someone on the personnel staff or myself, personnel committee or myself, and nobody has, so we'll move forward with reappointing members tonight. The first one would be the reappointment of Fire Protection District Number 2 Board, Mr. Malcolm Dugas.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Barber, second by Ms. Fonda. Is there any opposition? Having the motion passed.
Second, we have the East Ascension Parish Hospital Service District Board. We have 2 members to reappoint. The first one is Ms. Cynthia Stafford.
Motion. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by
Dempsey.
Mr. Dempsey Lamb. Is there any opposition? Having the motion passed.
Also, reappointment to the East Ascension Parish Hospital Service District Board is Mr. Stephen Talbert.
Motion, Mr. Chairman. That motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Ms. Fonda. Is there any opposition? Having the motion passed.
Number 3 is the Ascension Parish Water Works District Number 2 Board. 2 to reappoint. First one is Mr. Melvin Irvin.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Bowder. Is there any opposition to the motion? Having the motion passed.
The second would be Mr. Ty Donovan.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Bowder, second by Mr. Chase Knight. Is there any opposition? Having the motion passed.
Chairman Savoy, that's all my report. I would say that we will be interviewing for some vacant spots on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I think there are a couple other vacant spots. We'll be doing that over the next week or 10 days. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Number 10, Recreation, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask that the next meeting for the Recreation Committee be at Tuesday, the 25th of April. Also, we're meeting a representative from the West Ascension Recreation Board to be there. Max Administration is sending a letter to that board. Question that we have someone there, we have some concern and some issues that we need to discuss with the board. Someone to be there on the table.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I just need to know what time that meeting is.
That's all you have?
6.
Mr. President?
What time is that meeting?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. And where will it be held? In the council chambers in Gonzales?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, Councilman Thomas. You got a name on the guy who handling the grass cutting for that the West Side Recreation?
Mr. Thomas, will you please move the mic down?
Thank you.
I'm not sure exactly what the guy's name is. I did have
David Boudreaux.
David Booth, the guy that do the grass cutting. I think that's basically was one of the concerns.
We need to meet with him, the recreation, whoever handling the recreation, because Modex Park is in horrible shape. There's no weed eating going on, playground full of grass, just cut around the playground, doesn't do it. So the park is in horrible shape, and we need to think about what we're doing, because we're letting the rural area parks, they're not taking care of the parks in the rural area, and I guess they're spending their time in other places. So we need to meet to make sure that the councilmen that represent the areas outside the city that have parks, their parks need to be taken care of.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, just make sure that we get this to Mr. Chugwell, indicated that we need him there if possible, to be the representative that can answer our question. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson, with Councilman Thomas calling a meeting on the 25th and having a representative from West Side Recreation might be a good idea if you could possibly make that, might be able to help you out there with all parties in the same.
Thank you.
Number 11, Transportation Committee report. I do have citizens wishing to speak on this issue. We'll hear from you now. That's Mr. Philip Garrett.
Thank you, Chairman and members. I'm at a little disadvantage. I'm not at all sure what's being proposed. I had asked, and I never did find out exactly what was being proposed here, other than what I read on the agenda last time and this time. So if you have a copy of what is being proposed, I would appreciate it, and perhaps I could be given a few minutes to read it and make this at the end of the meeting, or postpone it till I have an opportunity to see what is going on. I know in the past we were supposed to work with Mr. Rue to possibly renegotiate our contract, but the meetings were never held. And we offered to do that, but it's a little bit hard for me to talk on this without knowing, what is being proposed. So if I could be granted the courtesy of finding out exactly what's going to be proposed before y'all consider to vote on it, then I can, have some response. So, or it could be moved to the next meeting, and I'll be given that opportunity at that time, because it's just, there's no way that I can intelligently discuss this if I don't know what's being done. It's kind of like deer in the headlights. I'm not able to respond very well. So it's whatever the pleasure of the council is, of course I will do. But I don't think that it's quite fair or good government to push this up here without me knowing what it is.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, the last meeting that we had, it was on the agenda and we passed on it because I had reviewed the minutes and couldn't find it in the March minutes. But I went back and did some research on it, and I have the Transportation Committee meeting minutes for February the 14th, and I will tell you what happened at that time. Mr. Tom Dawson of URS made a recommendation to amend the Pelican Land Service contract to a task order contract in order with all our other contracts and provide a certificate of liability insurance for $1 million. Councilman Kent Shakespeare made a motion to pass, and Councilman Todd Lambert seconded the motion. The motion passed. Councilman Doug Hillenbeck objected the motion and expressed his concern about payment for the past work done by Pelican Land Service, which Mr. Dawson said would be a legal question. At this point, Mr. Philip Garrett came up to speak on behalf of Pelican Land Service. He reported that years ago he had discussions with some other council members and others about DPW having concerns and talked of negotiations of all contracts. It was discussed, and DPW gave Pelican Land Service a 30-day notification that the old contract has expired, will not be renewed. Instead, the procedure for other consultants will be used and will enter into a task order contract. The motion for the contract amendment now goes to the Parish Council with a recommendation from our committee for approval. Thank you.
I never received such a notice that you're discussing. It automatically renews, and I'd like to see a copy of the notice that was sent to me, because I never received any kind of notice. As a matter of fact, I have called many times to find out, what's going on, and have never gotten the information.
Is Mr. Rue here?
Mr. President, is Mr. Bill Rue here?
I'm not sure, but make sure I understand, Philip, something. You're saying that the letter that I signed and we sent by certified mail, you've never received it?
I've never received any letter except one from the attorney for the Drainage Board. I never got any type of letter.
I will check on that, Mr. Chairman, because I personally signed the letter after this meeting and the recommendation of the committee and Public Works Director. So,
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Rue did contact me on the way to the meeting tonight. He had an emergency he had to take care of, but he wanted to make sure that we were clear with this situation because it was taken care of in February. But if there's any questions, he said to at least we would pass a resolution so that he could negotiate a task order contract with Mr. Garrett and Pelican Land Service. Then he would bring that contract back to the council. I'm hesitant to do anything until the parish president, if he's been notified for 30 days, it's a matter of the same thing we did the other night, essentially cancel the present contract, and he can negotiate, which is what he asked to do, and that's what Mr. Rue said, that he would gladly negotiate the contract, but we need the present contract needs to be canceled. So if that 30-day notice has been given, but if we're in disagreement here, Mr. Phillip says he didn't get it, then we need to get the signed receipt that we received back from the post office, and then we can decide after we do that on what road we take.
And it would seem like somebody would have verbally talked to me as many times as I've been in conversations.
Well, Mr. Garrett, it was right there in the minutes where you were at that meeting and discussed it with us. So, I mean, you did know this was going on. Now, you may have confused that with the Drainage Board or something like that, but the minutes clearly state that you had a discussion with us.
The contract that the parish is in with Pelican Land Service states that we shall give him notice by certified mail. If we have not verified that he received that certified mail, then we should not take any action tonight.
I don't think one has anything to do with the other one. I think, as I appreciate the motion, is that you're authorizing Bill to enter into negotiations for a task order contract. I would not recommend you sign a new contract or enter into a new contract until we've verified the cancellation of the old contract. But if you're simply wanting to get the ball rolling tonight to start negotiations with a new task order contract, you can renegotiate contracts all the time. So that, I don't think you would be held up. I would not want to see you to finally adopt a contract with this outstanding. But as I appreciate Ms. Fontenot's motion, it's simply to begin negotiations. That would be fine.
Okay. I would have no objections to that at all.
Is there any further questions?
Did she get a second? I'll second it.
The motion was for a contract amendment. So I don't think it was canceling the contract. It was amending the contract to a
amending the contract and negotiate the contract.
That's pretty much the same thing, I would believe.
It's the same thing. Second by Mr. Valentine. Is there any further discussion?
I would like to ask that before we go into negotiations, we had asked before, and my son had written a request, that we find out what y'all's intentions are before we actually go sit down in a meeting. They had asked us to send what changes we wanted, and we didn't need any changes. It's not reasonable to ask us how we want to change ours, but we would be happy to get their proposals in advance and look at them. That would be the best thing. Okay?
Again, only I can tell you is work with the administration.
Okay, thank you.
Contract back to the council. Is there any opposition to the motion? Having the motion passed.
Okay, Councilman Savoy, you asked for a report from my committee. The last I had heard that Mr. Tom Hunt with URS was supposed to meet with all the councilmen 2 by 2. Has everybody met with him yet? Everybody has met with him?
Yeah, I have one more.
We still have some that have to meet, so I'm sure he'll be setting up a meeting with y'all on that. He is also working on a meeting to get the state delegation together with other members of the parish, such as the sheriff and others. I'm assuming he's having a little problem with that since the state reps are in session right now, but he is working on that. As soon as he can get that together, we'll move on with that. The only other thing I have to report tonight is that the next transportation meeting is the second Tuesday of the month. That'll be next week at 7 o'clock at the new courthouse. I would, from the Transportation Committee, ask the citizens in Ascension Parish to please slow down. Thank you.
Number 12, Chief Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have the first recommendation is to, Mr. Keller has come up with an emergency shelter grants program, and would you explain that, Mr. Keller? We have an opportunity to get some grants.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This program is a continuing program. This is a new application to continue it. It's for emergency shelter. It's carried on by the Quad Agency out of Baton Rouge, and with the parish, it probably delivers services between 20 to 30 people a day, depending upon seasonal portions of the year. It's a contract for $150,000 from the feds, and of that, we do not put up a penny of the match.
So moved.
That's a no-brainer. That's a second.
Moved by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Valentine. Is there any discussion? One clarification, Quad area is out of Hannah, Louisiana, not Baton Rouge.
Right.
Any further discussion? Is there any opposition? Having that motion passed.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to inform you is that, so that it'll be on your record, is that along with other agencies that we have been dealing with, that will be dealing with the parish for grants, we have requested that once the grants are approved, that every 3 months these agencies give us a performance report so that we will know the number of people in the parish they are serving and what particular service they're delivering to them.
Item B, the no-wake zone ordinance, we word in with Section 2230. We have our waterway zone. Mr. Ben Babin had offered these proposals after a number of meetings, and we offer this up as a motion from the committee.
Got a motion by Mr. Dennis Lambert, second by Mr. Todd Lambert.
Mr. Chairman, discussion?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, in our meeting, we did adopt them, but Waterway Commission agreed, and we actually amended this, and I see the amendment didn't make it. The amendment was to add the GPS coordinates on the sign. Reason being, some people were actually picking the signs up and moving them to get the idle zone in their particular area instead of where actually the idle zone is supposed to be. So that way, the law enforcement officials can always know where that actual idle zone should be, and also to put the ordinance or the statute number on the sign so law enforcement can look it up if they have any problems or whatever. So I offer that as an amendment to the document we have in front of us.
That was in my motion. And I'll second that.
Amendment to the motion.
I'll second that. Inadvertently.
Is there any further discussion?
Just a question, Mr. Chairman. Are we voting on this as an introduction to an ordinance, or are we going to put it on a future one as an introduction to an ordinance? Because to change the idle zones requires an ordinance. Are we introducing a new ordinance right now, or are we just recommending that the next council meeting have this as an introduction? At the next meeting. Very well. So we're, okay. Including the amendment.
I just have a question. Is there any reason why the council doesn't want to introduce it tonight? Because you still got the time period. Oh, it's not? Oh, okay. Good. Makes sense. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Opposition.
Yeah.
Having a motion passed, Mr. Chairman, I will C. I have someone in the audience wishing to speak on C. Item C. That's Mr. Captain Dodd.
Why is the parish council being forced to hire additional personnel to serve the council? The administration continuously says parish employees have been reduced. This is misleading. Repeating something often enough does not make it true. The total number of employees quoted by the parish administration does not include part-time employees. When both full and part-time employees are added together, the parish has projected 18 more employees in 2006 than in 2004. Contrary to administration's claim, the number of total employees has increased. The documented statistics in the yearly budget reports confirm this fact and are displayed in the first graph before you. We have fewer full-time employees on parish payroll. However, part-time personnel are projected to increase this year to a total of 195 employees out of 530. This is 66 more than in 2004. Some will suggest that because part-timers do not receive benefits, there's less cost to the parish. This is not true. Look at your second graph. Actual figures from the Finance Department confirm that in 2004 we spent over $10.5 million in payroll. In 2006, almost $11.5 million is budgeted for parish employees alone. 27 additional part-time hires are projected for this year. Excluding these 27 new hires, a conservative estimate of both full and part-time personnel puts the parish payroll over $12 million, $1.5 million more than in 2004. Only parish employees and staff hired through Lofton and Louisiana staffing are included in these figures. These figures do not include other contractual employees and vendors. Parish government already has more employees, is spending more money for payroll. Why hire more staff? When the new department heads were hired by the Hughes administration, hefty salary increases were given. They were expected to do the work of two because of their qualifications. Obviously, this additional cost has not been increased our efficiency. Otherwise, the administration would not be asking to hire more personnel. The taxpayers of Ascension Parish are being misled. There has been no cost savings of reduction in total employees for parish government. The facts do not lie. The bottom line is government is not getting smarter, it's smaller, it's getting bigger. We are not spending less money on employee payroll, we're spending more. Why then isn't the administration able to staff council committees and other board meetings? There must be an alternative to hiring more staff in order to cover meetings. I encourage the Personnel Committee to gather all the facts before making their decision. I gave you, gentlemen, and Ms. Fontenot, all the documentation that I received over the past month from the Parish President's office on these figures that I just gave you. Thank you.
Yes, we had discussed because of the issues bandied back and forth about staffing and meetings with council meetings that we were trying to decide about hiring personnel and staffers for councilmen, and therefore it was decided to take that to the Personnel Committee and let them take a look at it, talk about it, spend some time with administration and try and decide the best thing for us to do, and then recommend that it goes from Personnel Committee to Finance Committee to make any decision or clarification, and then come back to the council with recommendations on whether or not or how many we would like to hire for staffing for council.
To add to that, I've talked to several council members and had an opportunity to talk to Ms. McConnell, and we talked about it being a good idea to send it to finance next meeting for a discussion, debate, whatever. There are several questions that need to be brought out, and hopefully we can, if you have any questions that you need, throw the questions out tonight so that administration or the council can start trying to get the answers for the finance meeting on next Thursday. One, and I'm going to throw a couple of them. One is housing. If we bring on where we're going to house that, the number, whether it be 2, 3, 6, or whatever, and what's the cost to bring them on, the overall cost for bringing those on. I had Mr. Roykett pull up some job descriptions for council secretary and assistant. We tried to get the copies to y'all tonight, and we was unable to do that. Mr. Zahn will be putting that in the mail tomorrow, so that y'all receive that in time to review that, so that you can have that at the finance meeting to discuss next Thursday. Other than that, that's what we have. Mr. Lambert.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I guess what would be good information is what is it costing us now in overtime for the committees that we're having a secretary hang over for. So if that information can be provided so we can see a cost benefit between hiring new people and what we are paying for overtime right now.
Okay. Mr. Hillenbeck?
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Lambert, I appreciate that comment about the overtime cost because I can assure you, as a business person, we can pay overtime costs a whole lot easier or cheaper on the taxpayers than hiring additional employees. Now, when we discussed this the other night, Mr. Schexnayder recommended that he had looked at it and he thought we needed 6 secretaries. For the 11 council members, that would be 2 for every 2 council members, 1 secretary, and then 1 for the chairman, which Mr. Barger made the motion to go forward with that, and I wouldn't second the motion because I just felt like there's far too many to even think about, not having any data, not having supporting documents. So I made the recommendation that it go to personnel and maybe finance and take a look at it just to see, but I can assure all of you we'd be far better off for the parish, for the taxpayers, if we just continue to pay the overtime costs versus hiring new employees. I agree with Ms. Goppelt on her findings. Thank you.
Anyone else? One thing that I'd like to
Yeah, I watched the strategic planning meeting on TV the other night and heard the discussion that was going on. And I think, Chairman, you've asked for that. I think from the standpoint of how much overtime, or somebody did. Maybe it was done for strategic planning. And I haven't seen that yet. And I think that's a key part to this. But another key part to this is I know there was an article in the paper. Parish President sent out an email. I think he sent it to Chairman Salvo and Martin. Well, I didn't get forwarded the email, and I spoke with Chairman Salvo about that today. It was just an error on his part where he didn't send it to me. But then I think it showed up in the paper the next day, or it was an article about it, that on April 19th you're going to cease sending people. Is that? I want to know what the Parish President's stance on it now, because I got some comments I'd like to make dealing with that situation, kind of on the line of what Mr. Hillensbeck is talking about. And one of the points is, Mr. Parish President, that you may or may not have thought of, is I've already had a couple of these secretaries say that they sometimes like to have the overtime. That is, they get an opportunity to make the overtime. So we'd be taking the overtime away from our employees that count on some of this overtime, because we have scheduled meetings. And as far as I can see, we only have utilities, transportation, personnel. Actually, Mr. Katz attends the personnel. We really don't have overtime. We pay on that. And so if you add it all up, even if we had 2 meetings a month, it's still going to be way under hiring even just 1 extra person.
Mr. Chairman, if I could respond, try to get us focused on this so we don't get all over the place. In fact, most of us are focusing on just the overtime issue. That's not the crust of the whole issue. And this issue has been discussed now for the entire 27 months off and on since I've been in office. In my meetings with other councils and parish administrations along the river in the area, I think we're the only parish where the council does not have at least an employee as a council secretary. Okay, and so you get into issues of, accountability. Who's that person work for? And you get into issues of a need for research at times. And I will look carefully at what the public speaker had to say, but keep in mind when you talk about part-time, yes, people are hired seasonally to cut grass and spray grass and things, but those part-time people don't work year-round, and so we will get into all of that because we look at that constantly in the number of people and manpower and what we're paying out. And because of the cuts we made in 2004, because the taxes have been going down for 3 years in a row, revenue, obviously the growth that has occurred since 2000, the growth has gone from it was 76,000 on the 2000 census, and the residential permits alone, the new streets and so forth. So as we try to manage the size of government, as the parish keeps growing, obviously you're going to have some needs for additional work to be done because of the population. We're estimating about 100,000 people now, so if that's accurate, that's about a 25% increase over the 2000 census. And we did reduce from about 335 full-time employees January of 2004 to about 284 full-time. Now when you put in people who work for the clerk of court's office or for the DA's office, or that we supplement salaries, and then sometimes umpires, people that referee in basketball and softball and baseball games, those are sometimes included in part-time. I don't know if in these numbers, we'll find out. Finance Department will go through all of it. We also have people that are paid in other capacities where we're mandated by the state government to help pay salaries, but they're really not quote-unquote employees of parish government as such. They may work for another agency. So you have to look at all of this when you do it. But I think the key factor is the accountability issue, having people accessible to you now. And I think part of this whole discussion is good. It needs to take place. You may come up with a model similar to East Baton Rouge Parish, where before their 5 o'clock council meeting, they have their 4 o'clock committee meetings. Well, then obviously our people there can help you. If you want to change the time, that's what East Baton Rouge Parish does. And then the days, I think they meet on Wednesdays. They don't have their council meetings. They have committees meet at 5. And so there's a lot of different ways of looking at this, and so we really need to take a hard look at it. And I think it's going to be good, the discussion taking place, and we don't need to try to accuse or blame it. We just need to have a good discussion. And I put myself in your position if I was in the legislative branch. All levels of government, state and federal, the legislative branch has staff people to help them do research and understand issues. And I say, if I was on the council instead of parish president with a full-time job, with everything going on, to really prepare for issues with what's happening in our parish with all the growth and development, I could certainly see a need to have 1 or 2 people that could help me out, secretary on staff help, if I was in the legislative branch. So that's the crust of this matter. Now, if you guys say, no, we don't want it, and there may not be any new employees at all, maybe a couple of people that's working in parish government now that you would like to work with you, quote unquote, more or less on a full-time basis. So this whole matter is a discussion and a dialogue to reach a consensus that makes sense for Ascension Parish. And so don't think that this has just happened in the last few weeks. I saw a comment, somebody thought it was retaliation. Nothing to do with that. This discussion has been going on for 2 years about how do we address the needs of the legislative branch working with the executive branch. So you guys have the help that you need. So, but your planning and zoning commission, your drainage board meetings, those are all pretty set. It's these extra meetings, and I met a good while recently with some members of the past council, and you guys, somebody went back to my comments in the summit, but they weren't having all these committee meetings. There were no personnel committees and these other committees in the evenings and all, transportation. All those have been added. They were not part of the structure of the legislative branch previously. And you had for example, you had a subcommittee of strategic planning on just a TV thing. So there's been a lot of more committee meetings added, so we just need to address this whole issue. And if you guys want to move them to 4 or 5 o'clock, that'd be great. But that would help us, that would solve a lot of issues, those of you who can make some of those. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I just wanted to say, you're asking us to hire some more people to work with us. But I'm looking at the 2 job descriptions right here, one of the parish secretary and one of her executive assistant. And, let's see, the typing of correspondence assistant, typing and distributing minutes of the meeting, writes, prepares, and types certificates, proclamations, and resolutions for the parish, drafts resolutions and proclamations, updates the board's commissions and committee book, distributes the code of ordinance supplements, assists in preparing agendas. This is what the parish secretary does. meeting attendance, attends and records minutes at the council meetings and other meetings as required. So we've got somebody that's got the job description to do our work, and then the parish assistant, hers is the same thing, and she is to attend and records meetings at council meetings and other meetings as needed to assist and support the parish secretary. So she basically has the same things. We're already paying these people, and they're doing it, and they help us when we need. Most of us are doing our own work because we want to. You know, we haven't gone and asked you to supply us with any people. You say you're cutting people, but yet you're asking us to get some more people now to help us. You know, what are these people? Are you going to eliminate these two women's jobs? Because if we take their work duties that they have described in these descriptions here and give it to somebody else that's supposedly our secretaries, then you're going to have to find work for them, you know, to do something else. And so I just have a problem with that. They also were, these people were exempt people. The Ascension Parish Council Secretary, we passed his resolution January the 8th, 2004, and we put her here. This should be an exempt position, so she should be able to come to meetings and not have to get overtime. They've changed her status since then, and she is now non-exempt, is what I'm understanding, and I've got Ms. Gwynn looking into some of that to get me that information. I don't have the full information, but will require that information by the finance meeting. But I have a big problem. I'm not looking to hire more people. We are looking to manage our administration with less people and take care of the taxpayers' dollars. I don't see why the need for more secretaries when our job description says right here we have them. And as far as people attending our meetings, let me read what the charter says. The charter says the chief administrative officer attends all meetings of the governing authority and any board or committee meeting when requested by the president. Attend meetings of the governing authority at its request and makes available information as it may require and or perform all other duties assigned in writing by the president. So you have a chief administrative officer that should be at all our meetings. So if you can't send anybody from DPW or anywhere else to our meetings, then maybe we can get Mr. Heisel, our CAO, to attend all our meetings and bring the information we needed. If we have to ask for it, we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The chairman mentioned earlier that he and I had a discussion. We did. I thought we had a very good discussion last weekend about this issue, and we were very like-minded, he and I, on this particular issue, and we agreed that we would make a request, and I believe those requests have been made, and in fact some of the information has already been provided, so that we could have a debate about this particular issue at the next finance committee, and then if necessary it can go to personnel, but something tells me it's not going to extend beyond the finance committee, if I had to take a guess. But we were very like-minded on this issue, and I believe that there are solutions available, and so I'm going to ask Ms. Patterson if you would put this on the finance committee agenda for next week, that we can have this discussion, and let's hope we can have a nice civil debate on this issue and come up with a solution at that time. Thank you.
Mr. Parish President, Chairman Savoy, Mr. Parish President, in all honesty, I'm looking at the April agenda right now, and there are really only 5 committees that are set, and most of them are set. Ms. Fontenot says hers is always on the second Tuesday, and the utilities are right before it. I mean, if you add up the 5 committees, and if they went 3 hours long each, it's only 15 hours. I mean, it's 20 hours at the most. So that's not a whole lot of overtime. And like I said, some of these employees are counting on this overtime. So I really think we need to, like Mr. McConnell said, we'll discuss this at the Finance Committee. But let me remind the public, while I got the situation too, that we are not full-time council members. We all have jobs. My job is very consuming right now, and all of y'all's jobs are very consuming. Mr. Thompson works in the industry. He works shift work. Mr. Savoy works in the industry. Mr. Hillenbeck has his own business. Dempsey works with utilities. Todd works in the industry. I mean, our jobs, a lot of our jobs on this council, not even, 9 to 5. Mine's like, 5:30 to 4:30. So it's very difficult for me to get prepared to have a meeting when I need to have one at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Just so that we might be able to accommodate a few people when we have so few meetings. And you need to look at the whole scope of this. And I know it's been commented, and you talked about the retaliation, which was in the paper, but we do have a staff, and they are well paid. They have vehicles. We pay for their gas. They have some expense accounts, from what I understand. So I don't see it an extra problem for them to attend our meeting so that they can come back to you and give you the correct information that goes on at our committee meetings. I'm sure you don't want to sit and watch TV all the time just to watch our committee meetings. That kind of goes into the night. So it's incumbent on you to make sure that you stay abreast with all these problems which you're talking about we're having, these situations and issues we're facing, that you know what goes on in these committee meetings, and it's incumbent on these administrators to attend. Several of them, when they came to work, tickled pink. In fact, Mr. Heisel is a good example. He said he'd work for $1. I wouldn't think about paying him $1 because this parish has given him so much in his past life. He was willing and ready to serve the parish. So I wouldn't think that anybody really should not want to come and attend one of our committee meetings, because it's a task for us to do it. I mean, I sit on the 911 committee. I sit on the criminal justice committee, and those are the committees that I make during my weekday also. That's a month or maybe two. And as you know, the other day I had a meeting with you and I had to cancel it because I had a situation. I also had to miss the criminal justice meeting. I know it was very important. In fact, I got to catch up with Mr. Heisler because I know he attended it, so I need to know what went on. But besides that, people call me at night all the time and apologize for calling me at night. I'm sorry I didn't call you during the day, but that's when we take our calls, is at night and after work. So, and I realize we went door to door for this job. Sometimes I wonder why, but that's beside the point. We're here to serve the people, and I think the people that are paid by parish tax dollars are here to serve the people. And we need to do it the most efficient way we can.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I want to clarify something. I've received some emails, and I wanted to clarify what your powers are and what we have. Under your charter, under Section 412, subsection C, the council can require periodic and special reports from all parish officers concerning the parish affairs of their respective departments, offices, agencies, and special districts. That means you have the power to require the officers of the parish to appear before you to address questions of parish affairs. So that's in the charter. I don't want to confuse that with employees to do the work of the parish council, which is different. I've gotten some emails which I think has generated some confusion. I want to make sure you understand the difference between the two. For instance, the parish council can require the head of the public works department to appear before them and answer questions regarding public works. You can require the treasurer to do so to answer questions about finance. So there's a difference between that and actually have someone typing the forms, acting as a secretary, or doing those other functions. So I just wanted to make sure that was clarified because there was some confusion that I was getting wind of. Didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to call it to your attention.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, sir. Let me try to refocus this again here a little bit. Several of you have talked to me over the last 27th month about a need for some help. We've discussed that very often now. So let's make sure we understand this. One of you accused me of trying to hire. No, I didn't ask you guys to hire anyone. We met with Mr. Heisel and I, Mr. McConnell, and Mr. Savoy, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months, I don't remember the date, to talk about several issues. When they came in last fall, we did the compromise on the budget. Some issues we talked about, and we agreed to get back together regularly to discuss these issues. Now, in that last meeting with the four of us, we had asked Jerry and Martin to come up to poll the council, meet with the council, see, is this something that you want to do? If the consensus of the council, this is something you want to do, please come up with job descriptions or your expectations of what you want these people to do. And we'd be glad to help you in that process, but it's really you, because you know what you need more than I know what you need or the HR director. So we work in a different environment, the executive branch and legislature. So that is the crust of what was done. You know, if you guys come back and say, Jerry, we don't need this at all, and then we'll keep working in to try to reach some agreements here. Now, I'm glad Ricky read what he read, and you'd also see right before that, right under that, that you make those requests through the office of the parish president for those reports and so forth. And if you go to another section, in section 4, you'll see some other issues, and we actually read those sections at meeting with, and I think Mr. Bowden was in that meeting, part of it, with the 4 of us. So we looked at 2 or 3 sections in this whole issue here. So I want the public not to misunderstand this. This is something that's been going on for a long time. Some of you have asked for this discussion to take place. Administration said we're open to consider this and work with you on this. And we agreed to, you can consider people that's working for the parish now if you decide to go down this road, or if you want to hire some additional people, or people that you want, then we'd have to address questions of people who are in those positions now. The job description that Cheryl read is obviously from the manual for parish secretary, because our personnel manual, and we talked about, would have to be amended because we have no position in there called council secretary, because our charter doesn't have one. Charter talks about the secretary and treasurer could be the same person. And if you decide to split that up, you can do that in the charter. So, and that's the focus of all this, is to try to help make your job easier without increasing costs. Now, if you guys tell Jerry and Martin, we don't need that, my job's easy enough, that's fine. Okay, we're working into the next level on these committees and how we try to help you there. But please don't misunderstand what was done and what was said, and why it was done and why it was said. Okay? So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Savoy. One more question, President. The reason why we're discussing this is because you sent an email saying April 19th, am I correct on that, Chairman Savoy, that you would cease sending any parish employees to any of our committee meetings?
Well, if it was said that way...
am I correct? That's all I wanted, yes or no?
Chief Administrative Officer did send something out. I think we went to a Recreation Committee meeting again the other night, and there wasn't a quorum present, so we kept people over, including people who work in the staff, and we get there and they can't have a meeting because there was not a quorum present. So that's certainly an issue there. And part of it was to try to get this to a conclusion. Because we don't ever set a deadline or a date. We'll just keep discussing it and discussing it for months and months. So the main focus of that is, okay, let's sit down with your leadership. Let's reach an agreement on what we're going to do here. You know, and we can always work for win-wins and compromises. Now, I think it goes back, George, to your comments a while ago about your schedule. I mean, I wish my schedule was only from 4:30 to 5 or whatever most days. And you do have that job. This is my full-time job. So I went door to door, too, asking people to hire me. And so some of the members of the council felt like because their work schedules, the way they make their living, are so busy, and it probably gotten worse since the storms in some instances of people, and saying they need some people during the day to have a secretary to help to take some of their calls and return them to constituents. And to find out what it is. That way when you get home at night, you can call that person back and you already know what the issue is. Or maybe this secretary, or whatever we call this person, this clerk of the council, would have already resolved that issue by saying, if you'll call Public Works at this number, they'll handle that problem for you. Now, so the intent is to try to help reflect some of that back to the administration and appropriate parish departments that could solve the problem, so when you do get home after a long day at work, you don't have as many phone calls and things to do. So you guys say, Ronnie, we don't want this, then we'll go to the next issue. How do we resolve the committee situation? So if I can tell you, and there's several of them have talked to me about this and feel like it's something that would help them. So
Okay, that was a lengthy yes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of done
Because the
for that.
point is, all I asked, we had an email which is spurred on this whole conversation. That's why strategic plan took it up the other night. I'm not one of them that talked to you that we needed extra help. I'm not saying that there are some issues that I would like researched, that someone could help me doing that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that this issue, whether you want to call it we're out of focus or not, we're well in focus. We got an email, or the chairman got an email, Mr. McConnell got an email, said that after April 19th, we would not be supplied secretarial help to take minutes. And if I understand you right, in the past, you said that you're not going to send your staff to our committee meetings. So I want to know, is that still the case? Or will you want to retract that tonight?
We're not going to require them to go to all these meetings. And like when I've been doing the one-on-ones, those that came in and talked to me, we've talked about that. And I think Kent would verify, said, and like Jared does that. He asked me to I come personally to that utility committee meeting. And I told Kent, if you need me there, you got a specific topic, but just to go to all the committee meetings, just to go when you really don't need us there, okay? I think we need to address. And so when this, you met, like the TV subcommittee, you met for, I don't know, a year or so. Obviously, we didn't need to be there at all those meetings. I can express what I would support and not support, and we'll work and negotiate with that. And the times, look, we really get to the point we think we need to make a decision. Ronnie, would you come to the meeting? More than happy. I try to do that anytime I'm invited to those committee meetings. And if you say, well, look, we'd like the Public Works Director to be there with you, or this person, then I'll talk to that person and we'll be there. But I think we need to really look at the committees, and I think the committees should probably improve the legislative process. I've never worked with a council that didn't have them, so it's hard to make a comparison. But from what I've seen and what people tell me, it's probably improved the process. But it's taken a lot of time on your part, and it's also taken a good bit of time on the administration's part, so we just got to find the most productive and effective way of doing it. And believe me, we're not trying to add any payroll costs or anything. We're just trying to help you guys have a couple people, one person, if that's what you want and need, help your job be easier and more effective from what you're trying to do. And I understand that Jerry and Martin have been working this issue with you guys. We're waiting for them to get back with us and say, okay, this is where we are on it. And so the main part of the email, I think Mr. Heisler's, and the main point of the email was just, okay, let's try to move this along because it's been a couple months now. Let's get to a decision. Because you just keep prolonging it, and it's just going to keep talking and talking. We need to reach a conclusion on it. So I apologize for taking so long to get to yes. I kind of have that problem sometimes.
Well, once again, it was something that we read in the newspaper because I had a constituent send the newspaper article. I don't get the Advocate and don't really read it that often. But a constituent sent it to me stating that there would be no people at our meetings in the future. But I take offense when you're going to bring up to these people that there was a committee meeting that didn't have a quorum. We have been meeting for 2 years, and we've really worked hard in these committees. And there was an occasion, okay, we didn't have a quorum. But I was at the committee meeting before that committee meeting, and we did have a quorum, and nobody from administration was there. We had over 10 bridges. This was a drainage board committee meeting, which we hired the parish president to administer our funds at the drainage board meeting, and we didn't have anybody there to help us with the bridges or tell us about the bridges or anything. And the secretary informs us by the next meeting that she wouldn't be coming to the meeting. Now here we are with 10 citizens in this parish that need their work done on their bridge, and we've got nobody to help us. So he's going to sit here and taunt and taint us with the fact that we didn't have a quorum in one meeting in over 2 years when nobody was at our meeting, the meeting just a half an hour before that one. So, it's a moot point, really. But, the point of the matter is that he said that he wasn't going to send his staff to our meetings. Sounds like to me he'd like to shut the committees down. That's what it sounds like to me. And it's just we're being punished, basically, because we didn't give raises. But, we're going to find some kind of way to work. We're going to work our committees to the best of our ability. The community has to realize there were 7 new councilmen put on this board, 7 of us that had to learn the process. We did this through committee, and we've done a good job. And I want to say this, Mr. President, we have worked hard to try to double up committee meetings so that the majority of us that are on 2 or 3 different committees can come at the same time, and your staff doesn't have to open the building and close the building on 2 or 3 different nights. We have worked hard to do things properly, to make sure we weren't spending extra money, to make sure we weren't taking time from anybody else. I think it is very unfair that you would decide to pull your people from our meetings just because we didn't give raises. And you said that in the meeting. And go back and get you the tape where you said that. Whenever we didn't give raises that night, well, I might not send my committee, my people to your meetings anymore. And then some 3 or 4 months later, here we are sitting here tonight debating over the fact whether we're going to have people at our committee meetings or whether we're not going to have them. And then when the issue comes to you, you sit there and say, oh, well, I'm just trying to help you get somebody to work. It's not about helping us to get somebody to work.
I think we need to move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's fine.
Because there was no motion and no second, I don't have a question to call. I'm just asking, can we just please move on? That dead horse has been beat.
Somebody that you can call on to do your research, to pull your research, to make reports, even PowerPoint, that would help you. If so, then you need to support bringing somebody on. On the other hand, the administration really needs to look at their structure as far as what they've got right now and see if there's some moving around or some adjustments that might be able to be made to where we can continue using existing staff today. That's what needs to happen.
Can I just add one? Mr. Roy Katz, or can you make sure that, before our finance meeting that we let's get a vote of the ones that are willing to work overtime, or the ones in-house that we can
yes, sir, we can.
Heads up on all that?
We can, and I would like to be on that finance committee agenda about moving these people from exempt to non-exempt. We have 3 of us that have over 30 years experience in the personnel business.
Yeah.
People made exempt because the previous administration didn't want to pay overtime. That's where you saved money. You were sticking it to the people that were supposed to be paid overtime. So I want to be on that agenda. And not one time was I asked why they were made from exempt to non-exempt until tonight. And then I get people yelling at me and everything else because we're doing something to help them, not to help us. If you got questions, please talk to me about this stuff. We don't need to grandstand up here about overtime and direct and who's compensated and who's not compensated. We're not even supposed to be talking about that. But I'll sure gladly find out who wants to work overtime. But we're not going to stick it to the people, the employees of this parish, by saying you're going to be exempt so we don't have to pay you overtime. And that was done. And that's why we went into with Richard Brown and Don Hostel and I, we looked at every employee out here. But nobody says anything until they get in here and say, look at we having PIP and all this stuff and saying, look, we're paying overtime. Why was this done 6 months ago? All you had to do was call me and ask me. I don't bite to any of y'all. I'm sorry, but I've been sitting here. The administration never gets a chance to say anything. We just like little exhibits sitting here. You hit a spot. Thank you. I will check on it.
Gwen, the information that I've called your office for in terms of this issue, please forward all that information to all council. Moving right along, Mr. Ficknight, do you have anything else to the plan?
No, that's why I recommended this go to another committee meeting. This is why we have committee meetings, by the way, and so we'd like to move on. I just wanted to give an update about traffic impact fees, which I was tasked to move forward on. Right now, we have gotten spoken to just about all of the members, and we've had in correspondence right now with Mr. Charles Landry, and has forwarded the concerns of the council members about issues on proposals related to retail, commercial, family petitions, and affordable housing. And he's looking at, with Mr. Jim Duncan, about any future proposals or come back with us. And as soon as I get all the information, we're going to forward it to the council members for further review, and we're going to take it up at the strategic planning meeting. So we'll let you know from there.
13, resolution in support of Highway 3127 of up to $15,000.
Okay, we need a little background on this. The River Region Caucus, which consists of 4 parishes, Ascension, St. James, St. John, and St. Charles, meets on a quarterly basis, and they have put forth recommendations and to the state as to their priorities. And their number one priorities was to improve Highway 3127 and make it a through road on the west bank of all of these parishes, and try to bring that forward. This was the first priority before the hurricane. After the hurricane, it's become what pretty much everybody believes is a necessity and a no-brainer. Unfortunately, it's not on the radar, and because it connects all of the parishes, no one particular parish has it on their individual roads that they're trying to improve. And we need state help for that, and we need regional help. Therefore, it was put out at the last meeting that we had, and it was formed a subcommittee to work on 3127 issues to try to come together and see if we can move this forward. We had a meeting with the subcommittee, and it was decided then that all of the parishes involved would be invited at a meeting to be held on the 18th of this month at 6 o'clock at the St. James Parish Courthouse on the West Bank in Vacherie. At which time they would be gathering information, for example, in West Baton Rouge, what exactly would you want out of a West Bank Expressway in Iberville, and so on and so forth. They have had response from just about everyone will be attending, as well as Representative Ed Lambert. Representative Roy Kazaa said he was going to attend also. And once we get the exact information, we would try to see where to move forward as a whole from the River Region Caucus. It was thought that the best thing was suggested that the best thing that we would show people that we were willing to also put up money if needed for any studies that would be needed to present to the state to forward this issue in a timely manner. St. Charles has already passed theirs. St. John has. St. Charles passed theirs Tuesday, and St. James passed theirs Wednesday. And it's a verbal request for up to $15,000 in support of 3127 issues if passed by the whole River Region Caucus. And so this is an example of the ordinance or the proposal, that resolution that was passed by the St. John Council, and we'd like to endorse this and send this forward, and nothing would happen unless River Region Caucus votes on this to move something forward. And I'll offer that as a motion.
Yes, motion by Mr. Chapin, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, question, Mr. Chairman.
Question, Mr. Dillon.
Councilman Schecksteiner, are the other parishes, they're all putting up,
Yes.
up to $15,000? That was,
yes.
Everyone's putting up the same. And you say the money's going to be spent on studies. We can't go with a resolution asking DOTD to study this, or we have to go out and hire an outside source?
We were going to see where to move forward from there. The River Region Caucus as a whole would decide from the information we got after meeting with all the parties involved what the consensus was and what we needed to do next from there. But we wanted to let the other people in the other parishes know that the River Region Caucus was behind this and would be willing to support it. And we have been assured verbally by the others that they were very much ready to get on board. In fact, it was a godsend to them. They were glad that somebody took this ball and ran with it. And they also believe that nothing is going to happen until everybody joins together as one. And so this is the time to do it with hurricane evacuation, economic development in the West Bank, and relief of traffic in Baton Rouge now being such an issue that we think is very important to move this forward as quickly as possible and try to get something in before the end of this legislative session.
Any further discussion? Is there any opposition? Having a motion passes. Number 14, we have a resolution here proposed by Congressman Bobby Jindal in support of all wall fees. Right now, as you know, sometime we read parts of the resolution. The current legislation provides that the state and local parishes shall share the revenue generated by all wall fees derived from up to 3 miles offshore. The proposition really what it does is it extends it to 12 miles to where the state gets wall fees out 12 miles. That's the meat of the resolution. And looking for support.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Parish, second by Mr. Tyler. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having a motion passed. Number 15, foundation proceedings. Mr. Laverne Boothwell, Chief Building Official.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. This is a condemnation proceeding which has been through the full process up to at least coming back to the council for a referral as to the council what to do with these. The first one is the Christina Hill property located at 37166 Highway 22. And as we have
Motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tyler. Any discussion?
This is
Having a motion passed. Comment, Mr. Thompson.
yes. This is what you have in front of you is it's a house, but it's a trailer inside of it. It's in badly shape. We've been trying to get this place dismantled for the last 5 years. I just want to thank you, Laverne, and the administration for the help to move this project further to dismantle it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We got actually voted on it.
The second would be the estate of Ascension.
Got a motion on that one.
Second.
Mr. Thompson, second by Mr.
Same problem.
Thanks.
Any opposition? Having a motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Burns.
Motion
Thank you.
adjourned, Mr. Chairman.
16 precinct.
Item 16, voting precinct.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So moved,
Members.
Mr. Chairman.
Come for y'all tonight, and I appreciate y'all taking this up tonight. I received notification from the state that Ascension Parish was delinquent on our report on our precinct handicap accessibility, and we had a problem, and we think we have a solution to it. It's going to involve just moving the precinct. It's fire station, Prairieville Fire Station number 2. It's been a continuous problem. They had besides the handicap problem, there was a problem, if you can recall it, Mr. Dibs can testify, the sheriffs had to send people out there for parking. So consequently, the solution would be to move the precinct. It is my recommendation and that of Mr. Hartberg that we move that precinct 10 from the Prairieville to the Prairieville Elementary School.
So moved, Mr.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Tyler Lamb, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Thank you, Ron. Motion passed.
Now, since we're doing precincts, we also have another one that's a problem, but it is handicap accessible, but it's very small, and there's a parking problem with it, and it's at the Palo Alto Fire Station. And it's our recommendation, myself and Mr. Burks, that we move it to the new lower intermediate school on Highway 1 South.
Any problem with it? Any problem? No. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Chase, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having a motion passed.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Wait a minute.
I would
You got something
point out
else?
to the president that now they could go ahead and submit that report. That they will all be handicap accessible now. Thank you.